So, yeah, because so you have already two PET CT scanners here in Mars. So maybe I think that you can consider PET MRI for your next scanner. So this is the outline of my presentation. So yeah, I will so let me start with what has been the technical challenges in an MRI integration, and what is the useful solutions for this that kind of the challenges, mostly the PET MRI, the interference. Okay? And I will I'd like to show you my knowledge on the design of clinical current clinical PET MRI scanners, and the actually we can consider the sequential PET MRI scanner based on the conventional photomultiplier tubes, and another possible geometry that we can do is fully integrated simultaneous PET MRI scanners based on the solid state photosensors that I have already introduced to you. I think you can appreciate some advantages of the PET MRI relative to the PET CT. So as you know well, that we can reduce the radiation dose by use of MRI, and simultaneous PET MRI acquisition is possible, although it is impossible in the PET CT. Yeah, because in PET CT we use radiation, the ionized radiation for both of PET and CT scan. But in PET MR, because that for MR data acquisition we just use RF signals that doesn't have interference with the radiation detection itself. So the simultaneous scan is possible, and most importantly, that in the point of application, MRI has the better soft tissue contrast than the CT. So yeah, in particular, that in the brain, the MR has much better soft tissue contrast, and that in some oncology areas, the better soft tissue contrast of MRI is beneficial rather than and because MRI is giving us many the functions the informations we can combine those anatomical and functional the information from MRI with the molecular information that we can get with the PET systems as well. Okay? But as I told you, there are many technical challenges in the integration of PET and MRI. So that was why that it took such a long time for the invention of or the development of simultaneous PET and MRI. Okay? Yeah, so one of them would be the the limited space for the PET MRI installation, and PET detectors inside of MRI. Yeah, usually that the MRI shield has the smaller bore than CT, because that with larger bore size, actually larger bore size, require the higher cost. I mean that the price of MR scanner is quite dependent on the bore size. So that is why usually the MR has small bore size than CT. So we have quite limited space in the MRI for the PET MR integration. But the more the important technical challenge would be the interference between the PET and MRI. Yeah, actually I told you that basically in principle the simultaneous scan is possible, because the detection of radiation and the detection of the RF signals and radiation doesn't have the interference itself. But the electrons used in PET is the influenced by the RF signals a lot. So, and there are many other interference. I mean, actually, that the main magnetic field, the visual field of MRI, the cultivates particularly the electron transfer the inside of a photomultiplier tube if we use it, and the gradient field the signals from the gradient coil induce the heating and the vibration of the detectors. And actually, that the RF pulse with high the frequency usually interfere with PET electrons. So that is why that we can see here. Actually, this the periodic signal is the noise caused by the MR RF pulses. So there was overlapping with the PET signal from the PET the scintillation detectors right there. So for the integration of PET MRI, actually we should remove this kind of noise that was caused by the RF pulse of the MRIs. Okay. Actually, there is the interference in the reverse direction. I mean that some of the scintillation crystals, mostly with some gadolinium component, like LGSO and GSO, can perturbate actually the visual the MRI field, and it can also cause some susceptibility in artifacts. Okay. And some radiation shielding materials used in PET also cause some added current and susceptibility in artifact as well. The noise from the the electric signal from the PET electronics in cables also interfere with the RF detection as well. So there are such a many challenges and many interference that we should avoid in the integration of PET. So we have figured out that there are some many useful solutions to reduce this kind of the interference. I mean that we have learned that we should use MR comparable scintillation crystals without the gadolinium component. So LSO and the LISO are those kind of MRI comparable scintillation crystals. And we should use many the non-magnetic component in the PET electronics to avoid the visual interference. And the good RF shielding, actually we require good RF shielding materials for the PET components. And so modular design of PET detectors like that also useful for minimize the added current caused by the MI signals as well. This is a little bit technical ones, but the differential now is also useful to minimize the effect of the RF interference. And sometimes we need to use some electric filters, low pass or the notch filters to suppress the RF noise that has the specific frequencies. Okay? And most importantly, that the photomultiplier tube is affected by the RF signal and other magnetic field. So mostly the useful way is the use of silicon photosensors like APD and the silicon field. Okay. Yeah. So let me explain why the PMT is interferenced by the magnetic field. So as I told you, that in the PMT, so we should amplify the electrical signals by applying the high voltage difference between the anode and cathode. And usually, the photomultiplier tube has the size of several inches or something like that, several centimeters or something like that. So the pathway of this electrical signal amplification is quite long. So if there is strong magnetic field, and if that kind of magnetic field is changing, actually it causes kind of the low response of these electrodes. So actually that caused the change of their pathway inside of photomultiplier tube. So we're gonna lose large amount of electrical signals inside of the photomultiplier tube. So that is why that if we place photomultiplier tube inside of magnetic field, we're gonna have very severe distortion in the energy spectrum and the crystal map of PET detectors. Yeah, because that we lose large of electrical signals inside of the PMT. The energy spectrum will be shifted into left side like that because the signal, the amplitude is decreased, and that we will see very severe artifact in the crystal man, as you can see here as well. So this is why that in the Philips system, in which they use photomultiplier tube for PET MR, the sequential PET MR. Actually, that the PMT based photomultiplier, the time of flight path is much separated from the 3 Tesla MRI to minimize those kind of interference. Okay, and they shielded the photomultiplier tubes like that, and they also apply some gantry shielding to minimize such the interference between them. They have actually that their system, the Philips system is based on the 3 Tesla MRI with 60 centimeter both sides. And the PET has actually that they used their the standard time of flight PET systems at the time engineered time of flight system that has 90 centimeter ring diameter and both sides, which is 70 centimeter, and the system has 80 centimeter axial field of view. Okay. They used LYSO crystal with the standard size 4 by 20 millimeter, and this because this is time of flight pan, that they had 525 picosecond within the high quality energy resolution. Yeah, actually that their shielding of the photomultiplier tube and PET gantry systems was quite the work went quite well. So actually you can see that the fringe magnetic field of MRI was the less than 2 Gauss or something like that. Okay. Let me skip this part. By the way, because they're used in their standard time of flight PET system, they could achieve almost the same image quality. I mean that this is the PET images from their PET-CT and their PET MRI, and they have the equivalent image quality results. Okay. But the sequential PET MRI system have some pros and cons. I can see actually that we can say that there is no compromise in the PET and MRI performance because that there is minimal mutual interference because we use separate machine. But I can see that there are more cons. I mean that it requires much longer scan time than simultaneous ones, and that will cause limited patient throughput and the convenience. Okay? And we need very large space for both of PET and the MRI scanners. So that is why that they has not been quite successful in terms of marketing of this kind of the head MRI scanners. On the other hand, that there are several many advantages of simultaneous head MRI scan that already I have mentioned in my video. So that we can reduce the imaging time because this is simultaneous scan, and we can improve the practical spatial correlation because that there is the motion mismatch due to the motion between two scans, and we can achieve better the temporal correlation because it is simultaneous data, and we can do some possible motion correction of that data based on MRI imaging information. So yeah, so so as I told you, for this kind of simultaneous imaging, actually solid state photosensors are quite useful. So the one of photosensor, the solid state photosensor has applied for PET MRI application. The first the photosensor was average photodiode. Actually that the average photodiode has the large internal gain. I mean that is different from the very cheap conventional the photodiode. Actually that so most widely used the photodiode is pin diode. Pin diode. This is very cheap one. But actually the typical pin diode doesn't have the gain of amplification gain of the electrical signals. But because we apply very high voltage between the cathode and anode, that between them that the distance is quite short. Actually this the ionizing radiation pairs cause the secondary make the secondary electrons and quarks, and it causes the average field of generation to generate this kind of electrical signals. So that is why that we can get higher the internal gain than conventional pin diode with average photodiode. So the typical average photodiode has an internal gain of 1,000 or something. So initially, that the several groups has worked on the average photodiode based PET insert for simultaneous PET MRI system. So actually, these two are very well known tubing and UC Davis system for simultaneous PET MRI based on the average photodiode. And Brookhaven group also has developed the similar systems as well. And actually, it was revolved to the PET, the average photodiode PET insert that has been used in the several institutions for the research purposes. And finally, that the Siemens, they commercialized this average photodiode the PET MRI systems with the name of MMR. And actually, that so this is based on their the value in the 3 Tesla MRI with the 70 centimeter bore size. Actually, yeah, we can do simultaneous PET MRI scanning, and so this is a picture of this MMR scanners in our Seoul National University Hospital. Yeah, so yeah, but that actually it has some limitation in terms of time resolution. Yeah, although that the average photodiode has the internal gain of I mean that here, as I showed you here, actually it has internal gain of 1,000 or something like that. But this is still much smaller than amplification gain of photo multiplier tube. So I mean that the signal amplification gain of photo multiplier tube is about 1 million. 1 million. So relative to the 1 million gain, 1,000 is quite small. So this is why the output signal from the average photodiode is quite noisy. So it is very hard to get the timing resolution based on those signals. So this is why the timing resolution of this the APD based average photodiode based PDMR system is about 3 nanoseconds or something like that. That is much worse than the current passive systems that has about less than 500 picosecond or something. Okay. Yeah. So by the way, let me show you how they have integrated PET and MRI systems. So I think so you may know how we make MRI. So inside the MRI, that we need 3 coils. I mean, there's a main magnet and gradient coil, and usually we use body RF coil in front of the gradient coil. So actually, it was as I told you, they use 70 centimeter for the MRI, but they the place the PET detectors between the body RF coil and the gradient coil after reducing the whole size of the body RF coil. So I mean that PET detectors are placed between the gradient and the RF coil. So this is why that although they use 70 centimeter bore MRI scanners, the actual bore of the PET MRI system is only the 60 centimeter. Okay. Okay, so yeah, if we look at the specification of their the PET MRI system, so they use the same the LSO crystal with the same size as their the MCT the PET scanner, and but as I told you that the energy and time resolution of the detectors in the PET system is worse than the PMT based capacity systems. Okay? But they can achieve better spatial resolution or the equivalent spatial resolution, because they have smaller holes. And the sensitivity should be higher because both size is smaller than their conventional capacity systems. Okay? Let me. So actually, that the interference between the PET and MRI is quite small. That so this is the PET images without the RF pulse sequence and with the RF pulse sequence, but we cannot find any difference between these 2 images. Okay? And the visual homogeneity between their PET system and their the original MRI would be also quite similar. So there is evidence that the interference between PET and MRI was quite minimal. Okay. Yeah, but Uh, yeah, so although, yeah, actually, that in the Siemens system, although, that they have, good performance in terms of, simultaneous, pattern scanning, but as I told you, there is a limitation in the timing and the energy resolution because they use, average photodiode. So, yeah, so, but if we can use, silicon PM for, the clinical pattern system as well, that we can improve those kind of performance as well. So actually, this table shows the, such a, difference in the characteristics of, three, photo sensors. I mean that the conventional photo multiplier tube and average photo diode and silicon PM. So as I told you, there's a difference in the gain of, signal amplification between the PMT and the average photo diode. But the silicon PM has, quite similar, quite equivalent, the gain as, for the multiplier tube. Okay, and silicon PM is also, comparable as, for the diode, and it has, so, quite similar the compactness as, for the diode. So that is why, that as I told you, that we have worked on the silicon PM based, pattern systems. And in the commercial side, let me skip this. The GE Healthcare has developed, the silicon PM based, pattern. So GE's, the signal, the pattern system is, silicon based on the silicon PM based, and they also use, the 70 centimeter, the 3 Tesla, MRI, that yield, almost the same, the final board size, I mean the 60 centimeter board size as, Siemens system. Yeah, the simultaneous, pattern is possible, as well, but it has, better, timing resolution. I mean, because their system is based on the silicon PM, we can get about, timing resolution less than 400 picosecond. Yeah, so yeah, in comparison, with the, the PET-CT, the PET-MR, the PET in the PET-MR has, the smaller ring diameter, but the longer, the actual field of view, 25 centimeter. Yeah, both of Siemens and GE use, 25 centimeter the actual field of view. So they are quite equivalent in terms of their dimension. They use, the rotation-based, maybe, the LIS separation crystal with a smaller size than the density machines. But yeah, but as I told you, that they have, good the timing resolution. That was, better than their previous, density systems. So let me just show you, the PET images without, the MR per sequence and with the per sequence. So we can see that, there is almost no interference between the, PET and MR. Okay. So there was, yeah, actually, that there was minimal impact on the MR images as well. I mean that this is, MR images with their standalone MRI and the PET MRI scanners without PET and with data acquisition sensor. And because, that they have, this scanner has, smaller in diameter and longer field of view, it has a higher sensitivity and, better count rate performance. So that would be why, that the PET images using the PET MRI, has, almost equivalent, the image quality, even it was acquired, the 15 to 20 minutes, later, the PET-CT scan. Okay, so let me sum up, my second talk. So we need, some conclusion. the major technical challenge in the PET MRI was the limited space and the PET MRI interference. But there are several technologies that has been quite useful. For example, the modular design of PET detectors with good RF shielding and some differential signals for some the electrical filters and the solid state photosensors. Okay. The two different design of clinical PET MRI scanners were reviewed. One of them was sequential PET MRI scanner based on the photo multiplier tube. They are limitedly used now, and there are because of there are many advantages that we can get with simultaneous scan in the market. The fully integrated simultaneous PET MRI scanner based on the solid state photo sensors like APD and the silicon PM is more dominant, I can say. Thank you. So any questions?
See the average photodiode, you have to say that the average photodiode there is low gain. If we use pre-amplifier, we can increase the gain.
Yeah.
Why we don't use the pre-amplifier?
I see. Yeah, so that it's true. That if we use the pre-amplifier, we can increase the signal. Yeah, but we need very expensive, very low noise the pre-amplifier. So usually those kind of pre-amplifier hit lots of generate lots of heat. So we should apply some cooling to the both of the average photodiode and the pre-amplifiers. And but the more important factor is that the amplifier also amplify the noise. Yeah, so we can the increase signal amplitude, it still has almost the same signal to noise ratio or something like that. So to get the better signal from the photo sensor itself would be quite important.
I have one question. The simultaneous data system, the interference of magnetic field of the MRI, how it is removed, the interference of magnetic field on the photomultiplier tube electron. There is an interference of how it is removed in the simultaneous data system to understand how it is removed.
So based on the PMT?
Based on PMT.
Yeah, so that if PET system is based on the PMT, simultaneous scan would be almost impossible. If it is based on the PMT. So that is why in the Philips system they use separate gantries. So, but some RF shielding would be useful, but the RF shielding is not sufficient for reducing the all of the interference. So that is why they need separate systems. So do you have any other questions?
So have you noticed that the MRI, when MRI can be should be used as a transmission again, actually, to make the attenuation map. Do you find any the problem while listening to this lecture? Because they did not go further to explain. Would you please explain?
So so although I did the handle this the attenuation correction is a real issue in the PET MR systems because as you know, the MR doesn't provide any information for the photon attenuations. So we need the special sequences for the MR-based the attenuation correction. So, for example, that in the brain, we use a kind of segmentation-based attenuation, and based on the UT sequence, ultra short echo time sequence, that provide some information on the location of the bones. So, but in the body PET MRI, the images, it is very hard to acquire, hard to get the bone information, because in the MRI, as you know, that in the MRI, bone has very low level of the amplitude, I mean the imaging intensity. So that is because that in the bone there is a very small number of very small amount of proton, I mean the water, and that the relaxation time of a proton in the bone is very short. So that is why in the whole body PET MRI we just use Dixon MR pulse sequence for obtaining the information on the location of the fat and soft tissue. So in the current the PET MRI scanners attenuation map is based on the Dixon pulse sequence for soft tissue and the fat attenuation map. But some vendors also look for some model-based the bone segmentation for the better attenuation correction. But I don't think that is as accurate as CT scan. So that is also why that we think that simultaneous image reconstruction based attenuation correction would be also useful for PET MR, because we don't need any MR or CT information for attenuation correction.
So does anybody already know that on MR what kind of signals are coming from bone? Would it be white or the black? So the bone, MR bone. So have you heard about anything about the skeletal MR? So haven't you heard? Then that might have been a little bit interesting, strange for you. But he just explained. So actually, we don't know. I did not know anything about the MR bone, the signal. So till we install PET MRI. So I did not know that the MR is causing problem of attenuation net generation, but it was the case. So because of that, SUV was different. So we installed a PET MRI machine, the Siemens one, 2013. We paid $10 million, and we just were really proud to use that, and calculated SUV. So it was different from PET-CT. So the next year, 2014, we held for the first time, by the request of the Society of Nuclear Medicine of the United States, in the annual congress, the continuing medical education by the Korean Society of Nuclear Medicine. I planned that at the time, and the room was crowded because the vendors were interested in the performance of the PET MRI. Today I installed in remote areas, not United States and not European Union countries. So they were crowded, and we complained. So your machine is wrong. Why? Because you're giving a SUV different from the PET-CT. Then persist and that kind of issues are going to be changed. And this is because of the MRI, the force attenuation map of MRI. So they already knew that. They did not just advertise. So we did not know until we installed the machine. And at that time we found that, this is the area of further research. So he started to do that. They used as I remember, used some kind of a level set method, some kind of the modification of the currently available research in the literature. However, he finally reached the very good kind of a no man's land, that the simultaneous emission transmission. Actually, originally it started like that. If you install your machine, not just a MRI, PET-CT, there might be some areas of unsolved problem which is they hidden and covered by the vendors. They don't confess. They care until they succeeded in selling their machine. So please, so for that point, we need really the help of the physicists. I mean the in-house physicists. Without physicists, the clinicians and physicians, we are fragile and volatile. We are prone to be just kind of persuaded by the wrong information, even by the vendors. Yes, so their attitudes is not to be blamed. That's their role. So we should have our role, protect ourselves and proceed. So I'm really happy that the MLAA, which is called MLAA.
Yeah, so you know that the MLAA is well known in the algorithm for simultaneous
Yeah.
clustering.
So yours
So actually, you know that we didn't made in MLAA.
Yeah.
MLAA is just